All right, welcome on board, everyone. Here we are, back in St. David's Performance Centre for Matchday Minus One, a unique, a special edition of Matchday Minus One, a first in many respects. It is, however, brought to you by our friends at PointsBet, a founding partner of Austin FC, but the first time we've ever said welcome to the playoffs for Matchday Minus One, and to celebrate, we thought we'd have a special co-host for today. For the first time on Matchday Minus One, Austin FC Director of Player Personnel, Sean Rubio, is here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Big shoes to fill from Michael. I'll do my best, but
yes,
yeah, happy to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to have you. I know Michael will be very pleased that you were able to do this. So let's get right into it. I think it's worth pausing and reflecting on the journey a little bit that has got us here, year two. What's it been like for you, Sean, watching this team blossom after year one? We've all been so close to it that sometimes it's worth stepping back and sort of taking stock of the bigger picture. What's it been like for you on the inside?
That's a good question. I mean, there was a lot of good that came out of 2021. Josh has talked about that a lot. I think that results were what they were, but I think we all felt coming into 2022 that our foundation was in a good place. And obviously, with my role on the recruitment side, we brought in some pieces to help supplement the group, and obviously the results have been good this year. But 2021 was an important year for us and a positive one, again, despite some of the results. So, and we're seeing a lot of that come out this year in terms of how things have blossomed.
Yeah, the message has been pretty consistent right from the early success in February, March. Listen, this is nothing new. This is just a continuation of what we were doing last year. A lot of expansion teams kind of blow things up when they don't work in year one, do they? Not saying things didn't work, but that's generally been the approach, and that wasn't the approach here. And I think we're seeing the dividends of that.
I think that's right. And with Claudio and Josh both, it was very much we're going in the right direction. We'll get better. Things will improve. And again, I think they've been proven right, to be honest, right? So right. It's been a good year, and there's plenty more to do, obviously, with the playoffs, as we'll discuss. But yeah, I think that's right, that we took stock of last year and where we needed to improve, and it still is a continuum, right? We'll feel that way in this offseason, regardless of how the season ends. Right. Taking stock of the previous year and then obviously trying to get better in 2023.
Yeah, and in your world, you're always thinking.
Yeah, that's true.
6 to 12 months ahead? I mean, I'm sure 23 is already very much on your drawing board.
Yeah, it's a personal challenge a little bit, to be honest, to try and stay in the day-to-day. Because once the summer window closed for us, pretty much immediately then we're thinking about 2023. So I've been there for quite a few months actually already.
Right.
And obviously that will continue to evolve as we get into the off season.
Well, welcome back to 2022.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Ahead of Sunday.
Yeah, happy to be here.
When you look at all the achievements, one last thing on this journey, 25-point improvement from year one to year two, tied a record for expansion teams, and it's actually the fourth best record ever, not in any year-to-year improvement. I just looked that up today. One of the teams you used to be involved with, San Jose, had a 1 year improvement from 2011 to 2012 that was 28 points. But we're right up there. It's not just expansion teams. So there's that. Copa Tejas, first piece of silverware for the club. 65 goals scored, third most in the league, 8 road wins. Is there anything that leaps off the page of you, or maybe something I haven't mentioned that you're really kind of satisfied about and perhaps will take the greatest pleasure from?
It's a good question. I mean, I think at some level when you're at a club, you play for trophies, and so obviously with Copa Tejas winning that this season, it's a good moment for the club. For the fans, for everyone. That's obviously a special moment anytime you can raise a trophy. Winning it, despite the result, winning it in Dallas, so to speak, winning the trophy, that is a special moment. So that sticks out. I mean, it's the first trophy in the club's history. So for me, that would be a standout moment, I think.
Yes, that was very, very special indeed. I wish we actually had that piece of silverware right here to show off. Maybe we'll get another piece before the season is done, which brings us nicely to the playoffs. We're here for the first time. You and I have both been in the league a long time, so we've got plenty of previous experience of playoff scenarios, but there's just a different level of excitement in the air when it comes to one-off do-or-die games, Sean.
Excitement is one word for it. Yeah. I mean, the intensity is completely different. The physical requirements in a league that is challenging physically as MLS, the playoffs, they really are just a completely different animal. And it'll be exciting to see our guys in that environment. Some of them have playoff experience, some don't within MLS. But yeah, it's obviously going to be an exciting day on Sunday.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it, Sean? Because the league has kind of tweaked the format of the playoffs over the years. They've gone from everything from 3-game series back in the day. It was almost more like baseball back in the early days of MLS to home and away, aggregate goal series, and now this that they've arrived at just for the last 3 or 4 years. I think it's been like this, where it's single elimination right from the get-go. Do you like that? Do you like it kind of coming down to 90 minutes?
I think I prefer 2 legs.
Do you really?
I do,
okay.
Yeah. I think it just, on the balance, I know a lot of times people say the first leg, it can be a bit of a taxing affair, let's say, to get to the second leg, which I can appreciate. But I just think giving both teams a chance to play at home in front of their fans, and sort of seeing where things shake out at the end of that would be my preferred system.
I can see it both ways. I mean, to guarantee 2 games and give both teams a home game, there's certainly an argument to be made for that. But I've seen some awful first legs where both teams basically settle for a 0-0 draw. It's like let's decide it in the second leg. I've seen that so many times. Not just in MLS, by the way. I've seen it in the Champions League
for
too.
sure.
All sorts of 2-legged knockout rounds.
For sure, and I think with the one game, you can confirm that there's going to be some level of craziness attached to it, especially in MLS, where pretty much anything can happen as is. The one-game playoffs, we saw it last year, just some incredible up and down games, and I would expect the same this year.
Yeah, real drama. We're seeded. We're in the number 2 seed. That will potentially give us at least one more home game should we get through this first round. And it's it's 90 minutes. It's 120 minutes if it's needed. It goes to penalties. There has to be a winner on the night, and it's just football or soccer in its purest sense, Sean. It's like win and move on.
Yeah, I think that's right. Survive in advance sometimes if it needs to be. I've been fortunate enough, the clubs I've worked for, we've been to a couple MLS Cup finals. Yeah. And, at the time it was 2 legs, but obviously the final being 1 leg. So I think it's fair to say in this format, every game is a final because it's, if you don't survive that game, then your season's over. Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah, so we have a lucky omen with us, by the way, in terms of playoff runs. Sean was with the San Jose Earthquakes. Actually, I guess they didn't have a deep playoff run, but you won the Supporters' Shield that year and then lost to the Galaxy. But with Toronto, you've been with the team 2 separate seasons and made deep runs all the way through to the final, ended up winning the final once. So you've experienced that kind of...
I have. It's going to be a little warmer, I think, the game on Sunday than some of the games we had up in Toronto that were frigid, to say the least. But again, it's really exciting, and I'm really excited for our fans specifically because the atmosphere around the game and the players and the intensity that's going to be required of them. Salt Lake, a difficult opponent, I'm sure we'll discuss, but everything is heightened, and that's obvious. But to see it, the players and everything it means to them, it's going to be really exciting.
Well, you teed it up perfectly. You are a pro, Sean. Let's talk about the opposition, the matchup, the task at hand for Austin. Just, if you will indulge me, give me your reaction. I mean, we went into last Sunday looking at potentially one of 5 or 6 different opponents. Yep. Were you happy that it ended up being RSL? And that's not going to be any bulletin board material for them. It's just anyone has got a favorite opponent they want to pick or teams you'd rather face and rather avoid.
I mean, I think I'm of the mindset of you're going to have to play everyone to reach your ultimate goal, which is obviously to win MLS Cup. So the order in which those teams come, it doesn't concern me too much personally. Even on Sunday during decision day, I was pretty focused on our game, to be honest. I wasn't doing a ton of scoreboard watching because things would fall where they were. You were
doing official watching instead and referee watching with the rest of us.
No, that's right. But Yeah, again, for me, and I can't speak for the rest of the group, but I think it's a team that's prepared to take on anyone. And I really think our group feels like it doesn't matter who's in front of us. We have as good of a chance to win as anyone.
Yeah. We played RSL just a month ago at home, won comfortably in the end, 3-0. It was interesting game, that one, because the first half was very even.
Yep.
Very even. And then, of course, we all know what Musa Jite did coming on. And it's interesting, isn't it? What do they pose a different sort of problem that needs to be solved from other opponents we could have had? What is it about RSL that you like going up against them and perhaps concerns you a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I actually look at last season for them as much as their recent form or anything like that. They were the 7th seed last year, similar to this year, and they turned that into a Western Conference final appearance, right? So for me, of course, they've had some changes to their roster and things like that since then, but that tells me kind of what I need to know about this group, which is they know how to compete in a single elimination format. Again, they did it last year, turning over Seattle in the first round and then moving on from there. So that's what gives me pause a little bit, is they have clearly the know-how to manage these types of games, and it'll be obviously up to us to sort of help unravel them as it goes through. So that's probably what jumps out to me the most.
It is pretty remarkable. They have actually been to 12 of the last 15 MLS playoffs. So for a club that isn't thought of by any means as one of the big MLS franchises, they're always there, and they have plenty of institutional knowledge about this time of year.
For sure. And obviously, their coach has been around the league as well, so he's quite familiar with how that can look. And again, the I keep coming back to it, but the intensity of the playoffs and what it requires of the players, of course, they're going to be up for it as well, because their head coach has, I'm sure, made sure of that.
Yes, Pablo Mastroeni, who also, he's been to 2 conference finals, took Colorado Rapids there as well in 2016. So the home team has won all 4 prior games between these 2 clubs. Austin led the MLS in goals scored from corners. RSL only allowed 3 goals from corners, so it's one of those, when you look at, can a set piece be a difference maker in a tight knockout scenario? It's one of those, immovable, unstoppable force against a movable object type scenarios.
For sure. I mean, and I think for us, set pieces have been a huge piece for us.
Yeah.
We scored a number of goals from set pieces this season. I don't have the ranking in front of me, but I would have to guess we're high up the table somewhere. So,
yes,
it'll continue to be a focus for us. And again, for Salt Lake, I think they can be dangerous on attacking set pieces as well. So, of course, we'll have to keep our wits about us. But for sure, scoring goals from set pieces has been a huge component of our season, and I wouldn't expect anything different going into the playoffs. RSL,
good in the air. They've scored 28% of their goals in the air this season. In fact, 12 headed goals leads actually second only in the league to Nashville in terms of goals from the air. So that's something I'm sure Josh Wolf and the coaching staff and the players are more than aware of and working on this
for sure. Knowing Josh and the coaching staff,
there's not many stats that get past them.
I don't think so, or just pieces of video or anything it may be. I have no doubts they're working around the clock to prepare as best we can for Salt Lake.
You mentioned some of our players have playoff experience, others don't. Does that matter? I mean, when you look at sort of the institutional sort of memory of a club, obviously this is new for us as a club, and traditionally, expansion teams don't do well in their first foray into the playoffs. But I'm sure it helps to have players who've been there and been deep before in the playoffs.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think the slight differentiator there for players that haven't been in MLS playoffs but have played obviously in big games in other leagues, it'll be different because you're seeing the same players, but they're going to look different, right? So again, if we go back to Salt Lake, we've seen them recently, but again, the intensity, the playoff environment, all of that, these guys are going to be looking like different players from an exertion perspective and everything else. So it may take a minute for some of our guys to react and go, oh, wow, this guy didn't look like that when we played them a month ago, for example. But pretty quickly, I suspect they'll get bedded in. But it can help for sure to have guys who've been in that environment before, for sure. Yeah.
Does momentum matter? Because RSL didn't have it. I mean, they went 5 games without a win, sank out of the playoffs, and then suddenly turned it on against Portland to clinch this 7th seed. And in some ways, we were victims of our own success, qualifying for the playoffs pretty early, and then just that glide path into the playoffs. Perhaps I don't know if you believe that makes any difference at all.
I think with the 90 minutes, you kind of can throw a lot of this out the window, in my opinion. I mean, it's so many things can happen within the 90 minutes, and then trying to extract that, I think, is quite difficult, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh my word!
Special guest.
We were just getting into the full analytics of her, and Sean was explaining what.
Well, you got the right guy. He does a great job with it.
I don't know if the mic is going to pick you up.
Yeah, I'll get closer.
Oh, it's good.
Sean does a great job with it. So
thanks.
We have tried to get Josh on Matchday -1 for. So many months we've been doing this show, and you guys are leaving out the door on your road trips.
You guys do a lot of work in here, so we leave you to it. But that was the main reason coming in. I know Michael's not here, but much appreciation to both you guys.
Hey.
For everything you do, delivering the game, delivering our players, delivering this space. So. Unfortunately, Michael's not here. Please pass that along to him.
He will be. He'll have a broad smile. You can picture his smile.
No,
can't you?
I saw him.
He will have a broad smile.
I saw him on his plane ride to France. I think where he was
He's going off to see Marseille
Yeah.
instead of us for some reason.
Yeah, but much appreciated. You guys did a great job all year, and obviously hopefully we'll see you again next week.
You guys have made our job a genuine pleasure to do.
Thank you.
So
thank you.
Long may it continue.
Yeah. Well, good. I'll let you have back at it. So, data analysts,
best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck.
We'll see you in a couple of days.
Give him hell on Sunday.
Yes, we'll do. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Josh. That's terrific. You knew that was going to happen, didn't you?
I can say nothing. I say nothing. If I speak, I'm in big trouble.
No, seriously,
It's
been so many times this season where literally the team have been leaving out of that door as we do this show on Matchday -1. So just where we had a home game, they didn't have anywhere to go. So.
Worked out well then. Works out well.
But just before we sort of move on and start to close it, just final thoughts on where Josh and the coaching staff and the team can win this. Where do you think we're going to be able to excel and profit and get the job done against that scrappy team who kind of love to come and play spoiler, and how are we going to not let them spoil the party, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's through scoring goals. It sounds obvious.
Well, that always helps, doesn't it?
It does, most of the time. But again, to be fair, we talked about last year Salt Lake moving on after a 0-0 on penalties.
Well, they didn't have a shot on goal.
Right. Yeah, exactly, which is challenging. But no, I mean, our club, you mentioned 65 goals this year. It is the bread and butter of creating chances, creating goal-scoring opportunities, whether it's from set pieces, whether it's from open play. That's been the bread and butter this year is the goal scoring, and so long may it continue.
Yes, amen to that. We will finish, Sean, with a moment of gratitude. This is where we always kind of shine a light on some of the different sort of areas and personnel in the club, of which there are many, and that a lot of fans aren't aware of. And I just want to give your department a big shout out. And obviously you're the director of player personnel, but you work under Claudia Reyna, who's a sporting director. There's Manuel Junco in your department as well, who's always scouting. Who else? Oh, who am I forgetting? Because as a unit, you guys do terrific work, and a lot of it again goes unnoticed.
Yeah, so that's by design a little bit. I'm not used to being in front of the camera this often, but yeah, I mean, we have scouts abroad. They help us a lot. One of them actually was able to come for the game this weekend.
He's here from Argentina, yeah?
Yeah, correct. So he's here, which has been great. We have scouts in Europe as well. Some domestic scouts on the youth side. I mean, I could get into Next Pro and the academy and everything, so I'll spare you a little bit. But it definitely takes a village. I mean, it really it's a group effort led by Claudio, of course. He's tasked me with obviously running the talent management department. And yeah, I can't speak highly enough about Manuel specifically. Obviously, as our chief scout, director of scouting. He loves this club and he loves watching soccer. So it's he's in the right place. But yeah, he's obviously been a crucial part for us as we've built this out over the last couple of years.
Well, you guys have done terrific work, and I know you're already busy with 2023. You mentioned MLS Next Pro. That's a whole different thing. We'll do another show just on that, I'm sure, at the start of next year. But that's really exciting. So many exciting things to look forward to in 2023. I'm really looking forward to the Leagues Cup too. But
yeah, definitely.
But thank you so much for coming on and previewing our first ever playoff game. This will only happen once.
Yeah.
And you were here to do it with us. The Sunday game is a 2 p.m. start. It is the big boys from ABC. That means John Champion and Taylor Twellman will be in town. They're calling the game. I think they'll be pitch side for the pregame. Kickoff's 2:18. And you know the rest. So best of luck.
To you as well.
Fingers crossed. I actually have to go to Montreal to do the other MLS playoff game on ESPN that night against Orlando. So tune in later on if you want to hear what I have to say about it. So, and I'm doing that with the RSL analyst Brian Dunseth. So I'm sure we'll have something to say on what's happened on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, you guys just try and keep it civil, okay? Maybe go for some
we will
Montreal bagels.
We'll actually be
something.
watching the game because it's 5 hours before ours. So we'll be watching the game up there in Montreal somewhere together. So
fair enough.
So enjoy, everyone. Remember to get there early as well for your special edition Yeti Rambler, which will be handed out. Gates will be opening 30 minutes earlier than normal on Sunday. For Austin and RSL in the MLS playoffs. How good does that sound? Thanks for being with us.